Modular construction, led by companies such as the Broad Group, has transformed traditional construction sites into true high-speed industrial assembly lines. The method consists of manufacturing fully finished apartment modules in a factory environment, including electrical wiring, plumbing, flooring, and sanitary fixtures, and then transporting and assembling them at the destination site like interlocking building blocks. This approach became globally famous in 2011 with the construction of the 30-story T30 hotel in China, erected in just 15 days using 93% prefabricated components. But before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Although the industry's initial skepticism dismissed the achievement as a marketing demonstration or questioned the structural safety of the buildings, the model proved its technical and commercial viability over the years. The evolution of this technology enabled impressive recent milestones, such as the assembly of 150 fully functional apartments in just 4 days in Abu Dhabi. The success of these operations consolidated the transition of the construction industry toward a precision manufacturing process, attracting massive investments aimed at transferring these factories to strategic regions such as the Middle East. The T30 was never intended as a one-time demonstration. It was only the beginning. A few years later, Broad took the same concept to a much larger scale by erecting a 57-story skyscraper in just 19 days. Named Mini Sky City, the building reached more than 650 feet in height and was assembled at an astonishing pace of approximately 3 floors per day. The complex included hundreds of apartments and space for thousands of workers, all built from factory-produced modules assembled on-site like pieces of a massive puzzle. But the company continued accelerating. It then unveiled a 10-story residential building assembled in less than 30 hours. What would normally require several months of work was completed in little more than a single day. The speed ceased to be merely impressive. It began challenging everything the construction industry considered possible. Then came another milestone. At the beginning of 2024, Broad completed a 26-story residential tower in just 5 days. The building contained hundreds of apartments and hundreds of thousands of square feet of constructed area. More importantly, it was not an unfinished structure waiting for installations and finishing work. Water, electricity, climate control, and essential systems were already operational. The building was ready to receive residents. At that point, the discussion was no longer about whether the technology was viable. The question became something else entirely. What happens to an entire industry when a building that would normally take between 18 and 24 months to construct can be completed in less than a week? The answer goes far beyond speed. Less construction time means fewer workers exposed to risks, less material waste, fewer urban disruptions, and significantly lower costs throughout the process. In practice, construction begins to resemble an industrial production line far more than a traditional construction site. And that may be the real revolution. Broad is not simply building structures faster, it is transforming construction itself into a manufacturing process. If this model continues to evolve, the future of cities may no longer be defined by projects that take years to complete, but by fully finished buildings that appear within a matter of days. And that completely changes how we imagine urban growth in the 21st century. Broad accomplished this in less than a week, on a real construction site, using real materials and facing real-world conditions. The secret is not the speed of the work performed on site. The secret is that there is practically no construction site at all. Broad's modules are produced on robotic assembly lines inside a factory in central China. Each module is a finished apartment segment approximately the size of a standard shipping container. When it leaves the production line, it is already 90% complete. The flooring has already been installed. The toilets are already in place. The electrical wiring has already been run. The plumbing has already been connected. The paint has already dried. The factory uses a robotic manufacturing system similar to that employed by Foxconn, adapted for the construction industry, and currently produces approximately 26,900,000 square feet of buildings every year. That is equivalent to roughly 84,000 housing units annually. Enough housing for an entire city coming off a production line, like automobiles. What happens at the construction site is not construction in the traditional sense. It is assembly. Cranes position the structural modules while crews connect the interface points between them. That is why a 26-story tower takes 5 days instead of 20 months. The building is not being constructed. It is being connected piece by piece. Emaar Group is the developer behind the Burj Khalifa, the tallest structure on Earth. When the people who created one of the most ambitious skyscrapers in the world want to see firsthand what you are doing, it means you have reached another level. The group's affiliated company, Eagle Hills, sent executives to central China, toured Broad's factory, observed the robotic assembly lines producing complete residential modules, and placed an order. The order consisted of 259 modules, totaling 150 residential units, including studios and 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments, manufactured in China, loaded onto ships, and transported approximately 3,700 miles to Abu Dhabi. This was not a test or a pilot project. It was a commercial transaction. The success of ultra-fast construction in China quickly attracted the attention of other markets. A Middle Eastern developer analyzed Broad's system and concluded that it was ready to operate under Gulf conditions. The order was approved, production began immediately, and in just 30 days, all the required modules were completed. Manufactured in September of 2025, the components were shipped the following month and arrived in Abu Dhabi approximately 20 days later. Then came the most impressive phase. Cranes worked continuously, lifting and positioning modules that were already fully equipped. In total, 259 modules were installed, each representing a completed portion of the apartments. 96 hours after the first unit was installed, the entire building was standing. The project, called Earth Tower, features 16 floors, approximately 161,000 square feet of residential space, and 150 apartments. What would normally require many months of construction was completed in just 4 days. When the development was finished, it became a historic milestone for the international expansion of Chinese modular construction. Valued at approximately 125 million RMB, the project represented the first major entry of this construction model into the Middle Eastern market. Recognition came quickly, including an international award normally associated with consumer technology and digital innovation rather than construction. This demonstrates how the industry now views Broad. The company is no longer seen merely as a construction firm, but as a building manufacturer, and the plan extends far beyond exporting modules produced in China. The next step is bringing the factories themselves to other countries. Broad intends to install whole-on production lines in the United Arab Emirates, allowing complete buildings to be manufactured locally and eliminating the need to transport modules thousands of miles across oceans. The strategy is clear: produce close to consumer markets, reduce logistics costs, and accelerate project timelines even further. The stated objective is ambitious. By 2030, the company intends to operate dozens of production lines around the world, with the capacity to manufacture billions of square feet of buildings every year. The goal is not simply to build faster, it is to completely transform the way the world builds. And Broad is not alone in this race. Chinese giant CSASE, considered the largest construction company on the planet by revenue, has also advanced in the modular sector by becoming the first Chinese company to receive preliminary approval from Dubai authorities for integrated modular construction systems. The decision opened the door to a market seeking to accelerate the delivery of housing, hotels, and commercial buildings while reducing costs and timelines in a region where demand for new construction continues to grow year after year. What began as an experiment in rapid assembly in China is becoming a global transformation. And for the first time in more than a century, there is a technology with real potential to alter the fundamental rules of the construction industry. CSCEC's modular brand, known as Home Agic, aims to produce 50,000 housing units per year for countries participating in the Belt and Road Initiative. 50,000 units annually from the modular division of a single company. Dubai was not chosen by accident. Gulf nations are investing trillions in infrastructure and housing, and traditional methods cannot keep pace with demand. Modular construction simultaneously solves labor shortages, excessive timelines, and high costs. The approval obtained by CSCEC in Dubai signals that regulation is finally catching up with the technology. When the world's largest construction company and the fastest modular construction company on the planet are targeting the same market, that market is about to change. In 2025, China exported $4.34 billion in prefabricated buildings. That figure comes from international trade data and represents a 42% increase in exports to Gulf markets compared to the previous year. China is not merely building apartments in a matter of hours. It is exporting the industrial system that makes it possible. What Broad and CSCSE are doing is not just a story about construction. It is a story about industrialization. Construction was one of the last major industries to resist the transition from craftsmanship to factory production. Automobiles underwent that transformation 100 years ago. The electronics industry went through it 50 years ago. The apparel industry experienced it even earlier. Now it is the turn of buildings, and China is not merely participating in this transformation. It is leading this transformation. 15 years ago, a Chinese company assembled a 30-story hotel in 15 days, and the world laughed. Today, nobody is laughing anymore. They are placing orders.